Bank stocks plunge. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heise here and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I've got a nice cool stein at the moment because it's quite hot today in Brisbane. I hope you're having a good day wherever you are. I thought we'd have a look at this article written by James Hall from news.com about bank stocks, the major four, how their shares have taken a hit. Now before we go through it, let's just have a look to see how some of the shares are going. We can see here NAB is down. I'll just refresh it. So we can see, yep, they're down a fair bit, down to 26.28. Technicals are saying sell. We'll look at CBA. It's not doing as bad. It's slightly up at 79.60. That's a big price for the banks compared to the others. And it's at a neutral place with regards to technicals. ANZ, look at that. ANZ isn't doing too well. Slightly up, but overall it's looking a bit unhealthy for the beginning of the month. Definitely. And its technicals are also sell. And Westpac Banking Corporation as well from the beginning of the month. It's definitely down. And today it's also down, negative 1.55%. And the technicals are sell as well. So let's jump into this article and have a look, guys, because it's not looking good for the big four. I know you'll all be disappointed. So day of reckoning finally arrives for Australia's major banks. The banking sector has endured a week from hell, but this may just be the start of things to come as the Royal Commission woes set in. A scathing indictment of the banks was promised when the Royal Commission's final report in the financial sector was handed down in February. But the supposed D-Day turned out to be a non-event, with Commissioner Kenneth Hayne QC's findings labelled by one leading equities analyst as more bark than bite. The day after the report was handed down, banking stocks surged. By midday the following trading session, the big four banks, Commonwealth, Westpac, ANZ and NAB, all soared between 4.7 and 6.6% higher. I remember talking to a broker friend of mine, and a lot of the brokering companies took a big hit. They took a big hit, and the banks, did a lot better. So there you go. It's almost as if it was a good thing for the banks, the commission. NAB Chief Executive Andrew Thornburn and Chairman Ken Henry were forced to fall on their swords by the end of the week after invoking particular scorn from the Commissioner, but the general consensus was the sector escaped any major structural changes. This week, however, appeared to deliver the promised reckoning. The Commonwealth Bank-owned life insurer agreed to refund $12 million to CommInsure customers after they pleaded guilty to 87 criminal counts of illegally selling its products over the phone. NAB settled the first post-Royal Commission class action and will pay $49.5 million to hundreds of thousands of customers who were sold junk credit card and personal loan insurance. But the real doozy was reserved for Westpac. Oh yes. Australia's oldest bank was accused by the Financial Intelligence Agency of more than 23 million breaches of anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing laws in transfers amounting to $11 billion. Okay, now you have to understand this is to do with the tracking of the data, and certainly some of the money could be used for money laundering and terrorism, but a certain large portion of it may just be normal transactions as well. The most staggering indictment related to AUSTRAC's application to investigate the major lender was less than $500,000 that a dozen Westpac customers allegedly paid to the Philippines and Southeast Asia. Well, the agency says these type of payments are consistent with transfers made to those who were involved with child exploitation. Westpac failed to introduce appropriate detection scenarios to detect known child exploitation typologies, consistent with AUSTRAC guidance and their own risk assessments, the agency's chief executive, Nicole Rose, said. Here we have, Westpac, there you go, lost $6.2 billion in value in just 24 hours. The bank's shares have since plummeted, as punters try and comprehend the scale of punishment to be inflicted if Westpac is found guilty. A recent precedent was Commonwealth Bank's $700 million fine last year for similar offences, but this was related to 53,000 breaches of anti-money laundering and terrorism funding laws, not more than 23 million. Over a 24-hour period, $6.2 billion was wiped off its share value, but the billions of dollars paid out in remediation costs from all the major banks continues to climb as the looming threat of further penalties and class actions persist. What do you think, guys? How do you think it's going to head? There you go. I mean, 23 million transactions. What can you say? That's just an insane amount. Have they had any systems in place? Any systems? But yet, if you were late with a payment for one day, boom, their system picks up on that real quick, doesn't it? Doesn't it? So, facilitating horrendous types of crime. The Attorney General, Christian Porter, said the enormous number of alleged money laundering breaches by Westpac have the potential to facilitate the most horrendous crimes. Anyone who breaches money laundering laws and therefore allows money to be laundered has, just as a matter of fact and common sense, contributed to the facilitation of international and domestic crimes of various types, he told 6PR on Thursday. Well, isn't that all of Australia's property industry? I mean, let's just, we'll bring up one of my favourite charts. I need to put this one on a coffee mug. Just look at how much foreign investment came into our housing sector. You sure all that's clean money? Sure some of that isn't dirty? But no, we need a cash ban, guys. We need a cash ban because, us little plebs, we're too dumb to carry around $10,000. According to KPMG, guys. Just too dumb. Dumb little plebs. The reason people launder money is to hide the profits of crime and criminality, and to fund further crime and criminality, which is why we have such strong laws and such strong penalties, and why the government takes such an incredibly robust approach to money laundering. Well, the government's approach to manage and track it has allowed 23,000 transactions to go for years and not be addressed or not identified. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? I'm sure with this cash ban, all of these problems will disappear. Am I the only one cynical about all of this stuff, guys? Investment bank Citi noted on Thursday in a report aimed at predicting the ensuing bloodbath at Westpac how similar scandals have resulted in mass changes to executive teams. NAB's chief executive and chairman followed most of its management team out the door after a foreign exchange trading furor in 2004 cost the bank $360 million. CBA's chief executive, Ian Narvey, stepped down amid significant management and board changes at the major lender after its AUSTRAC settlement relating to anti-money laundering and terror financing charges. The microscope is now focused on Westpac's chief executive, Brian Heise, who admitted on Wednesday that the issue of personal accountability is absolutely on the table. I will be personally leading our response to all of these issues, he told reporters. With respect to the specific customer matters that are in the detailed statement of claim, the first time I saw them was this morning. I was utterly horrified at what I read and am absolutely determined to get to the bottom of why on earth this was allowed to persist. On Friday, the bank's chairman, Lindsay Maxted, said the board was devastated by the issues raised by AUSTRAC. I am sure they are. I'm sure the board is terribly devastated. The notion that any child has been hurt as a result of any failings by Westpac is deeply distressing, and we are truly sorry, he said in a statement. The board unreservedly apologized. I mean, let me know if you've banked with Westpac and say, 2017, 2018, you might have tried to buy some cryptocurrency, and they blocked that. They managed to do that real quick, didn't they? It just depends what's on their radar. We've already made significant improvements, including reviewing and taking action on all the individual customers mentioned by AUSTRAC and establishing a multi-layered review. We've also commenced discussions with relevant community groups about any further steps we can take to fight child exploitation. So asleep at the wheel. The Austrac allegations illustrate the sloppiness, now synonymous with the sector, which can have major criminal and financial repercussions, LF Economics founder Lindsay David said. It's unfortunately not surprising that something like this is going on in the Australian banking system, he told news.com.au. Previous research conducted by LF revealed misconduct committed by lenders in regards to the issuing of mortgages. If you compare the scrutiny of a European or an American bank will apply to a potential customer when signing up for a bank account versus setting up a bank account here, Australian banks are probably some of the easiest to set up with, Mr. David said. Nothing surprises me. This banking system has a lot of problems it needs to solve, and concerningly, it's going to impact shareholders and other stakeholders. This Westpac scandal is a big one, and it's pretty clear it was asleep at the wheel. Mr. David said the findings from the Royal Commission will serve as a launching pad for emboldened law firms keen to take on the might of the Big Four. Slater and Gordon was at the helm for the NAB class action settled this week, and the law firm has since turned its attention to running similar assaults for victims who were sold junk credit cards and loan insurance by Westpac and ANZ. Customers who trusted the big banks were ripped off and continue to be out of pocket after being pressured to sign up to worthless insurance cover, the firm's practice group leader Andrew Paul said. The behaviour uncovered by the Royal Commission, whereby big multi-million-dollar financial institutions were taking advantage of vulnerable Australians for financial gain, was reprehensible. We will continue to hold the Big Four banks to account on behalf of the hundreds of thousands of Australians who have been ripped off. They deserve to get their money back. So here you go. And James is asking for comments below or to get in touch. If this is was this the week from hell? Just the start from the banks? Well, that's a good question, James. Is this just the start from the banks? How is it heading? How are they going? What do you think, guys? I mean, if we'll jump back and have a look at some of the, the impact on the markets. ANZ, sell. Westpac, sell. Combank, neutral. NAB, sell. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Let me know if if this is going to affect your relationship and which bank you bank with, and if you're going to, sell off some of your investments just out of disgust, really. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. If you like the channel and want to help me produce content, I have a Patreon where you can make a small monthly donation. Thank you to everyone who supports me there. I also have Amazon and eBay affiliate links. It's a great way for you to support a content creator if you use those services. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and we receive a kickback. We also sell merch on the Heise Says website, and we have PayPal if you want to make a direct donation. Take care, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye for now.